What's going on, guys, and welcome to Who to Sign For. Now in this series I'm giving you my recommendations on what players to sign for a specific team in career mode. Before we go on, I will say that the signings you'll see aren't designed to be realistic, and the player ratings and potentials of the players may vary depending on what database you're using and how they perform for you during the season. Obviously, you don't have to follow all the tips. This is really just a set of guidelines to give you a hand if you're stuck for ideas and want some suggestions on what players you could sign for a certain club. This is mainly aimed at those of you out there who may be new to the game and just need a little bit of advice, or for those of you out there who want a few recommendations on what players to sign for a team that you may be using in career mode this year. And I'm grinning as I'm doing the introduction because, well, I'm doing something totally unprecedented today. So I've been doing Who to Sign For saves and series, I should say, for several years on YouTube now, but I've never once used a team from outside of Europe until today. Yeah, I just thought we've done so many European teams in this FIFA 22 Who to Sign For series, and I was thinking, I quite fancy changing it up and doing something completely unique. And now that the Copa Libertadores is, of course, in FIFA as a licensed competition, I thought, do you know what? Let's go to the most successful team in Argentine league football history. A team that's won the Copa Libertadores 4 times, from Buenos Aires, River Plate. Yeah, I'm really excited for this. I tried to do something completely unique for this one, something completely different. And I've got to be honest, man. This is a really fun team to use and a really fun project as well, because I'm sure a lot of you guys are like me, like you're kind of traditional when it comes down to FIFA career modes. You know, you like to manage in Europe, you stick to your top 5 European leagues most of the time. You might possibly consider a stint in Belgium or somewhere, but for the most part, year after year you play FIFA career mode, you're probably sticking in Europe. But guys, now the Copa Libertadores is in the game, you gotta give a South American team a go. Even if only for one career mode save a year, definitely give them a go. And River Plate are a great choice as well. Now, they're a 4-star team with a very small transfer budget. And not much to work with in the first season, around 16 to 17 million pounds. But it's a very interesting team, River Plate, because there's some really good young talent here, including, of course, Julian Alvarez, their young striker up top, of course, who, as we know, is now a Manchester City player. Yeah, he was signed by Man City and now it's been loaned back to River Plate. But there's some really good young talent here. You know, River Plate have produced some great young talent over the years. And you'll see with the contracts that come at the end of the season, 2 of them are good young talents. And I give them both new deals. David Martinez, the young South American centre-half, and also De La Cruz. Do not let this guy go. 24 years old, 78 rated, regular starter for River Plate as part of their midfield. Definitely keep this guy here. He grows 3 ratings to 81 overall. He's a brilliant midfielder. And I'd also recommend giving Mama a new contract as well. This is a player who back in the day you might remember had like ridiculously high potential. Safe to say his career hasn't quite lived up to that height, but in this River Plate team he's good enough to be a 3rd choice centre half, so I would keep him here on the bench. He grows 3 ratings to 77 overall. So with River Plate, again, not much money to work with. In the first season you've got to win the Argentine Premier League. Obviously they are the most successful team in the Argentine league football in history. Interestingly enough, there is no Argentine Cup in the game. And as for the Copa Libertadores, if you're like me and you start to save and you're wondering where it is, don't worry, you haven't done anything wrong. The Copa Libertadores actually appears midway through the season as a playable competition and not at the start of it. That's because even if you do set it up and enable the Copa Libertadores at the start of the save, when you're beginning to save, it doesn't appear until midway through, because the competition is actually split over 2 in-game seasons due to the fact it occurs towards the end of what would be considered an in-game season. So I had a bit of a panic when I first set the save up. I was like, where's the Copa Libertadores? Don't worry, it appears midway through the season. And in the first season, River Plate's objective is to win that as well. So in your first season with River Plate, you got to win both the Copa Libertadores and also the Argentine Premier League as well. In terms of new signings with River Plate though, this is a really interesting one, because again, there's not much money to work with here with the lads from El Monumental. I would recommend bringing in a couple of players that have got good first team quality and also potential for future as well. You'll notice with River Plate, there are some decent young players here, but also quite a few aging players too. We sold Casco, a left back. We're trying to sell Enzo Perez, a holding mid as well. They're both in their 30s, and one player I would recommend is a new midfielder. You've got Fernandez, who is just unbelievable in this game. And of course, partnering De La Cruz, that's a great CM partnership, but you want a long-term successor to the anchorman, Enzo Perez. And my recommendation will be this guy right here, playing for Bologna. It's Nicolas Dominguez. I'll bring him back to Argentina. 76 rated. You'll probably have to spend around 18 to 90 million to get him. But one of the reasons I love this guy, very, very simple, as versatile as it gets. Starts off as a CM, but really, play this guy anywhere, man. He's got high work rate. He's one of those versatile jack-of-all-trades players that can do anything. You can convert him to right back, left back, right mid, play him naturally through the middle, or, in my opinion, with a high defensive work rate and decent defensive stats to begin with, convert him to a defensive midfielder. It'll only take 2 weeks, and you can replace Enzo Perez as your new anchorman. Yes, he's 3 ratings lower to begin with, but he's 12 years younger, and he's got 84 potential as well. Definitely bring Nicolas Dominguez to El Monumental. So we would sell Enzo Perez to Real Betis for £5.2 million. Obviously, he's a good player at 79 overall, and in the Argentine league, he'll do a brilliant job. Because he's in his 30s, his decline will be quick. You want a long-term successor, and personally, I would get as much cash for him as you can in the first season and bring in Dominguez as his successor. And again, there's not much money to work with at Buenos Aires with River Plate, so you do need to spend your pennies wisely. I would recommend a new holding mid. We got him in Nicolas Dominguez, and if you've got enough money left over, I'd recommend a new starting winger as well. Of course, you've got Ezequiel Barco here, but he's only actually on loan. You'll want a really good young Argentine winger for the future and someone who can play a role in the first team in the very first season. Who's the guy I'd recommend more than anyone else? Well, if you play FIFA career mode, you've probably seen him at some point. Pedro de la Vega of Lanús. Yeah, starts off 74 overall and 20 years old, but this guy's got super potential. Yep, he grows 11 ratings to 85 with dynamic potential. There's no reason you can't get him into the high 80s, pushing 90. He's an amazing young winger. You'd have to spend a few million over the valuation to get him. We spent 11.5 mil plus one of our aging centre-halves who were trying to sell Maidana. And as you'll see, this guy is good enough to replace Simon in our first team on the right hand side, with Barco on the left at 74 overall, and again at just 20 years old, growing 11 ratings to 85 overall. This guy is going to be an absolute star here at River Plate as the years go by. Good enough to go in the first team, and really good for the future as well. I think he had a few ratings higher in terms of potential a couple of years ago. I think he had like 88 potential. Has taken a slight decrease, but even so, still really high. And again, because of dynamic potential, it's not a major downgrade. He can still grow to that sort of rating. And again, very quick player, high medium work rates. I put him right in the first 11. So with River Plate, very short transfer window, because again, not much money to work with here with River Plate, and not many players you can sell to raise cash. 11.2 mil raised for Enzo Perez and Casco, but the players coming in to replace them, both great Argentine talents for 29.5 mil. The combination of Pedro de la Vega, our new starting winger, and Dominguez, our successor for Enzo Perez as well. You look at the River Plate team and you think, well, it's probably gotten a little bit weaker with the replacement of Dominguez for Perez and Casco getting sold as well. But really with River Plate, it's one step back, 2 steps forward. For the future, it's gotten quite a bit younger and gotten better potential as well. So as per usual, we're simulating the end of the season. And again, this is a very interesting one, because as you can see, there it is, the Copa Libertadores appears midway through the season. You see our 3 group games against Fortaleza, Colo in their group as well. And you'll see we did make it through the Copa Libertadores group, but of course the last 16 in the knockout stages come in a new season. So this is quite a ham-fisted ending to today's episode. You'll see the Argentine League. We did win it though. Very close title race. 3 teams only separated by 1 point. Colón and also Lanús as well. We did hold on with 53 points to win the Argentine Premier League. So yep, we did win the league title and hit the league objective this season. Again, there's no cup in Argentina for some reason in FIFA Career. I don't know why. But even so, as you'll see, the continental objective hadn't been completed because I had to end the season, officially end season 1. Never done this before. It was so bizarre. I had no idea. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I could simulate all the way through and the new season wouldn't start until like October or something. But no, officially a new season started in July, as it always does. But the Copa Libertadores fixtures do carry over. So don't worry if you are playing in South America and playing the Copa Libertadores. Don't worry. Like, your progress in the competition won't be lost. You will be able to carry it on for the next season if you Well, that's exactly what happened here. We managed to get through our last 16, and then we drew Colo Colo, who we also had in the group in August in the quarter-final stages. And as we were simulating through this, of course, asked to win the Copa Libertadores, like winning the Argentine Premier League. Lost the first leg 2-0, and in the second leg, lost it on penalties. Yeah, gutted, man. Came back to tie it over 2 legs, but lost it on penalties. I was so excited, man. I really was, because I've never done Copa Libertadores before. But as you'll see, we did top the group. But yeah, made it through the last 16 against Independiente, but knocked out in the quarters by Colo Colo on penalties. The winners, for those curious, Red Bull Bragantino. Yep, from Sao Paulo. Red Bull Bragantino. There you go. Copa Libertadores winners in Season 1. So yeah, we didn't hit our continental objective of winning the Copa Libertadores, but I've got to say it was really fun to simulate through. It would be a blast to play it, I'm sure. But for River Plate, winning the Argentine Premier League in the first season is more than good enough to keep your job. And of course, because the Copa Libertadores carries over 2 seasons, that's what you really need to do in the official Season 1. It's really worth giving them a go though, man. Like seriously, if you want to give the Copa Libertadores a go, and I do recommend it, because it is of course in the game now after the past 2 years, it's definitely worth having a go for something completely unique, man. Like if you're like me, you're a bit of a traditionalist, you tend to do the same sort of Korean modes and the same sort of European teams. Give a South American team a go, you know. And Argentina, of course, licensed as well. I don't know why the cup isn't there, but even so, River Plate are a great choice too, because there's some decent young talent, such as the likes of De La Cruz and Fernandez, the great 2 midfielders, for example. But a team that does need a rebuild if you are going to dominate South America. Really fun team to use. Definitely worth giving them a go. The only negative is the El Monumental is not in the game. EA, if you're listening, please add it in. Iconic stadium. It will be amazing to have in the game. Definitely worth a go though. Totally unique, this one. Had a lot of fun with it, and really worth a go for a different challenge. But that will end today's episode of Who to Sign For, guys. Big thank you for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it. If you haven't, drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you for the next episode of Who to Sign For very soon.